see, the show will begin soon. And they probably assumed that our mics were muted for that. Would that be a safe assumption?
It would never be a safe assumption.
Absolutely not.
We're good for Twitch.
Twitch is operational.
And we're good for YouTube.
YouTube's operational. You know what that means. We can start the show! What's up, everybody? That level of energy and enthusiasm is probably not quite appropriate for the somber mood that we are now in.
The somber pod.
I think we got a new name for this one, the Somber pod. Why are we somber today, Jordan?
Well, because LCS is back. And it's, we just kept waiting and pleading and begging for the season to delay a bit more. We said it's too soon, it's too fast. We just need more off season. But here we are, and the season is underway. Week 1 in the books.
I think we were like the first and foremost people that were saying, no, absolutely don't let us start the season yet. We need more practice, gentlemen.
Yeah,
please.
Everything sounds and looks very good, but surely another few weeks would be prudent.
Yeah. Well, I wish that's few weeks we had, because Somber pod, pound Somber pod. We're sad boys today. And we're sad boys because the last 2 days were not quite what we were hoping that they would be. And there's a lot to talk about here. And should we just say at the jump, so here's what we're going to do. We're back to our regular show format, which we haven't done in a while. So Jordan, do you want to tell everybody what the pod is again, just in case everybody's coming back for the...
Let's do that. Okay. So if this is your first time listening to the podcast, if this is your first weekend being a 100 Thieves fan, okay. Just let's do a reset in your mind. But the reason that this podcast exists is so that we can talk about what just happened. And that means we've got quite a bit to talk about after 2 games that were, there was a lot happening. What this podcast isn't is a podcast about how to best play Karthus and the strategies on where you want to int with him. We're both silver players. We've been a fan for as long as 100 Thieves has been organizations. Or we've been fans since 100 Thieves has been an organization. So we're not experts. We don't pretend to be. We actually love it when chat corrects us and provides insight into league topics. So if you love to do that, please join our chat. But really, this is just a place for us to break down the LCS games from the week. That's specifically right. The 100 Thieves ones.
Specifically the 100 Thieves ones. And while we are not League of Legends experts, what we are is probably a little more calm and put together than somebody posting in Reddit immediately after the game. So we're here to shed some perspective on the weekend's action. We're going to talk about both games. We're going to talk about what we've learned as a whole about the team. If we have time, we'll talk a little bit of extra 100 Thieves content, and then we'll wrap up here. Again, everybody's got a lot to say, so if you want to comment in the chat, ask questions in the chat, we'll try to get to them as they fit in with what we're doing in the show, and we'll try to carve out time to make sure we address your questions. So if you're on Twitch or YouTube, feel free to jump in as long as it's helpful. Don't flame anybody.
I mean, if you have to flame us
or us, us, that's okay. That being said, so this was the big debut of the team. TSM being the last NA team that we played in official competition at the end of the summer split of 2018. So we're revisiting old foes with a kind of familiar look, it turns out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to the comparisons of last season, both teams looking pretty different. TSM is looking quite different, I would say. Not only the beards, but just the players playing. And so, we ended last season with a pretty disheartening loss to them, and we both hoped that would not be, an indicator of what was to come at Worlds. But it seems like TSM is a team that is going to be pretty good.
They seem to be pretty good. And while we have kind of a different look of the team in real life, on the Rift, it kind of looked a little bit similar to
Yeah,
what we saw the last time we played, didn't it?
Is that honestly that was so
Let's
I
get into
tweeted
the
out-
draft. Go
Yeah.
ahead, and then we'll get into the draft.
I was just gonna say I tweeted out after that I had these like vague, unsettling thoughts and feelings about the Zillion Scion combo, and when the draft hit, I had this whole body like chill. I was like, oh, why do I feel so weird all of a sudden? So let's get into the draft because, yeah, they played that one back.
Yes, they did. We look totally different, right? We had Someday on Victor up top, which, when's the last time you saw that? I don't know. Ended up playing Olaf. Huhi took Urgot, Bang on Lucian, Aphromu on Thresh. Then on the other side of the rift, Broken Blade with Scion, Familiar, Trauma, PTSD.
Yeah.
Acadian on Camille, Bjergsen on Zillion, Familiar, Trauma, PTSD. Sven took Ezreal, and Smoothie took Alistar. So, yeah, that Zillion Scion thing.
It's so good. It was so good before, and it was so good this time. The encore turns out just as devastating.
Now, you might ask yourself, how did we let Bjergsen get on Zillion? Is that a fair question?
Well, I mean, we targeted mid.
Yes,
with all of our bans.
Exactly. Let's go through the ban list for us. Akali, Galio, Aurelia, Syndra, and Zoe. I think we were a little worried about Bjergsen popping off, weren't we?
It's possible that was a concern we had entertained. I am no strategic coach, but just based on the bans, I'm going to say that we had an idea that he could be a problem for us. Now, interestingly, I thought they, in their first round of bans, they hit Cassio, Aatrox, and Lissandra. So it was, if you're a mid player, it's kind of like, who is even left for me to play? Zillion was left. Turns out Zillion was left. So, and you know who else was left, actually? Do you have any other guesses, Cole, on to who was left?
Well, I mean, Rise was left, technically.
Rise was left, which,
Corki was left.
We saw played. Corki was left. But you know who was left? Aurelion Sol was left.
Yeah, that's right. A-Sol was left. Are we surprised?
I am surprised, and we need to talk about that.
Are those buffs from 9-1 or 9-2, though? I know there's like a long talk about A-Sol buff.
I think it might be 9-2.
Chat, do your duty. Let us know.
Enlighten us. But here's what I'll tell you. I feel pretty confident that 2016 Worlds A-Sol was probably about the same, power level, which is more or less unplayed in professional. So I don't know that a big buff is what is needed. Maybe it is. Maybe you're right. And next week teams will wisen up, or they won't. And there's something else going on, which we could also talk about.
Yeah, Chad is telling us it's a 9.2 buff. So that's something that we should see next week. And Chad is also pointing out that Victor and Urgot could have been flexed the other way.
Could have been flex picks. And I would argue should have been flex picks based on the way that game went.
I mean, it's hard to not get ahead of ourselves with what we're going to talk about, because obviously we're going to want to talk about some of the performance of our players on their specific champions.
Yeah.
So before we do that, I just want to take a second and general thoughts about the draft other than the Zillion nightmares. I felt like we were being a little too cute, maybe, with with all the we're gonna flex something. You don't know where Urgot's going. You don't know where Victor's going. It's like it felt a little cutesy to me. And we ended up with Someday on an unfamiliar champion, and it felt weird. It felt like we were trying to do too much in our debut.
Well, and then Victor is, the intent there is that's a counter pick against Scion. So again, I think the unfamiliarity of it is probably what played out. We heard the casters talking the whole game about how he was kind of misusing the ultimate from Victor, just like moving the storm around to places that you wouldn't move the storm if you were great at Victor. So yeah, I mean, when I saw him on Victor, I was like, okay, maybe he's doing some practicing. Maybe he's got a little pocket pick coming. That's like the pocket pick where you pull it out of your pocket. It's just like a crumpled up $1 bill. That's
You
not
didn't find a 20. You found like a used lollipop that's like stuck to like the inner pocket
right.
with maybe
A lot
some
of
hair
lint
on
on
it or
there.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, didn't pan out. Let's say didn't
no.
pan out. Um,
The other
yeah,
thing, engage, right? There's doesn't seem to really
yeah.
be, you've
Oh
got the
yeah,
hook from Thresh, and then that's it, right?
and the hook was landing. The hook was there.
Yeah, it was
But
hit. It was hit and miss. A lot of close misses, but we also landed some.
yeah, the hook landed. But really, what it was doing is it was like the hook would land, and then he would just like pull the person toward him as we retreated. So it wasn't, it wasn't doing a whole lot for us. But yeah, overall, this draft, we saw, this is actually, it's interesting. We saw this comp come out from there's one other team who tried it. I think it was a team right after us, and of course I can't remember now because every game blends together. I'm gonna do this, and then chat will put it in the chat, and then I'll say it. But it's one of these comps where the idea is you just smash your lane,
Right.
you destroy your lane, you come up, you take down turrets, you get map pressure, and then it's just they don't have a chance to team fight. But we didn't do that.
Which is kind of strange because I don't think it was a fault of the actual laning itself. So I guess we're going ahead and jumping into the actual game discussion. But I honestly felt like if you're just talking about like farming and trades, then I felt like we were great in lane.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
basically everybody was ahead.
Yeah.
In terms of CS, and it just seemed to me that a couple of like maybe unlucky, maybe just bad early fights didn't go our way, and then from there it was like, all right, well now like you have to do more than just simply like out CS them, and then they they of course were stronger with the gold lead and everything. So
yeah, it's interesting because it on paper it's a strategy that I can absolutely see. Right, you get someday on a counter pick, up against a pretty hype player in Broken Blade, but still, someday we know he's strong, and then you get bang on a good champ, a comfort champ for him, Lucian. You take this, you use your second pick to get him that. It's one of those where it's like, I get the strategy. I don't think the strategy is a bad strategy. I think where we fell short is that we kind of abandoned the strategy after we built up this lead, and that we didn't really convert the lead that we had in these lanes into any kind of advantage when it came to objectives. And they started forcing like larger scale fights. It wasn't a full team fight, right? But like the first slip we had was at Infernal. We were trying to get it.
which
They invested.
am I mistaken that was the second Drake of the game? Because didn't we took a Drake early?
I think we did. I could be wrong.
Because I know I had in my notes that like in the first 10 minutes we had a Drake. We're pushing everywhere, 1,800 gold lead. Like
Yes.
not the start that we've been accustomed to with 100 Thieves. Like it's usually been like a feel it out sort of thing, or at least
Right.
by reputation that's what it's been. But
Yeah, it was a very different start.
We looked like we were starting very strong.
I had I noted we were up 1,000 gold at 7 minutes, and it was just through map pressure. It wasn't through like cheeky plays. It was just we were just winning in lane. And Anda was jungling his mind off, or that's not really a thing, but he was out of his mind. He's just doing classic Anda stuff. Like he was counter jungling, and he was taking stuff. He was getting a pretty big lead too. So,
And then we have the turning point, around Infernal Drake, right?
Right.
Seemed to be, in my opinion, no real plan for the fight. It seemed very scattered, and it seemed like Anda in particular, which was a little bit surprising to me, was just kind of doing his own thing because, there was a point where everybody kind of pulled off and was like, okay, we're fighting, and he's just down there still going at the Drake like a little bit longer than you probably would have liked to see, and then the Drake's like doing real damage to the team.
Yeah. Yep. The Drake was helping, and that first Infernal is always tough, and I think he got more tough recently. So it's kind of like we were down a half, called a half champion with the Infernal just doing work. But yeah, the whole thing turns. Broken Blade actually had a really key play there to break us apart. Ezreal picks up a triple kill, and suddenly we're down 1,000 gold and the Infernal Drake. So that like when it came time to actually do something with the leads we had, it all fell apart. And then we still had, it's just like at that point, we just lost the pressure we had. We had no kills at 16 minutes. So we just weren't, we weren't punishing them in lanes. We weren't punishing them in team fights. There was no real danger for them, it felt like.
Yeah. And, some of the comments and questions going on in chat center around kind of the lack of being on the same page during the team fight. There's, someone's asking, do you think the team trusts each other enough to fight? That's You Should Know in YouTube chat asking that. I don't, it seems like it's maybe not there yet. Like, it seemed like there was a misunderstanding of what the call really was. And everybody's trying to find their own spots. Like, they know, like, okay, like if I like peel off and flank or whatever, like I'm going to have an opportunity to turn the fight or whatever. But none of that happened at the right time, and none of it happened in a coordinated way. So it's not like that's super unexpected at that point, but just to see it continuously happen on top of the other things we were seeing. I mean, don't forget, like, after this, Broken Blade like soloed Someday down, but it looked pretty, like that was a rough little exchange. And we had like a 1-for-1 kill trade up in our topside jungle. But it didn't result in anything. Like, nothing we did from that point on, we were able to take advantage of as a way to push our advantage,
Yeah. And there were just, the thing that really jumped out at me was there was just a lot of really uncharacteristic stuff we saw. So, we start super strong. The first team fight comes up, and Anda just straight misses the flash over a wall.
Yeah.
And it was close, but he didn't make it.
Yeah.
And that's just
I'm almost positive Someday missed a wall flash too. Somebody else did. I thought it was Someday.
Was this the game where Someday? Oh no, he in the second game he did flash for basically no reason. I mean, yeah.
So it's like, is this just rust are we seeing, or is this indicative of anything bigger?
I don't know. So do you want to kind of break down the individual performances, or do you want to work through the rest of the game?
I mean, we can let's stay with the game itself, and then we'll kind of address those as we get to them. Interestingly enough, we were still winning the CS battle, like even after all this started going wrong. It wasn't really until that first fight around Baron happened that it was definitely like, okay, this is going south super quick.
Yeah.
And this is like, we're officially in a terrible position. Because before that, I felt like, all right, we'll settle in, we'll find a way, we always do. But it just looked like the most useless Baron fight ever.
Yeah, we just started playing their game. Like this Baron fight at 25 minutes, we just engaged full on. And I think because we didn't have the pressure on the side lanes that we needed to, like, they were able to just kind of group up and walk over to Baron and then, force the team fight. And really quickly, we lost both Huhi and Someday. And then it's a 3v5. And what are you going to do about that? And this is another theme that we saw throughout both games. Bang played well.
Yep.
And he didn't disappoint. But it became very evident that you cannot win just by having a world-class AD carry at this point in the meta, in the game. Like, it's not enough. In the same way that we couldn't win when Someday was going insane last season, Bang is not going to be able to win us games just through sheer force of will. And I don't think that's really what he's known for. I think he is one of those guys who scales well, who rarely dies. Like, he never gives up anything that he doesn't need to or have to, or that they really don't invest a ton in. But he's not going to be able to save us, is kind of what I'm seeing here, because he was landing his shots, he was positioning well in fights. It just looked like he was shooting with a Nerf gun. Like, it was doing 0 damage, which I'm sure was tilting for him.
Right, I'm sure it was tilting for him. And I think we saw a few times where it looked like he didn't do like a lot of damage in team fights like you would maybe think he would. And I think that was a lot of probably him just having a little bit of a second sense about, like, if I jump into this fight, it's not going to go well. And so he kind of just stayed back. And I get that. The problem is, like, Sven on the other side is getting totally beat in lane by Bang, just totally smashed in lane.
Yeah.
But he's just racking up kills. So, like, the gold is there,
Right.
And when you have that sort of strength on him, And, you know, Bang in his first game, Bang's playing Lucian, which is more of a mid-game spike kind of, you know, ADC as far as those go. And it's not working, and the damage isn't there, and the opportunities to jump into the team fight aren't there. We just can't turn him yet, you know?
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. That I think a player like him, he knows, yeah, I could go in, I could chase that kill. I will definitely die. Because, you know, when you're playing a marksman, you have to go in knowing that you're going to delete the person who could counter you. And if you bust your whole combo on them and it takes down a third of their HP, you're dead. You're completely dead. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't see his play at all as being passive or anything. I think he just knew that it was not going the way that he needed it to have the impact that was needed.
Yeah, and you can't forget that with TSM's team comp, this is a game that you need to win in the early and mid game, or else it's too late, right?
Right.
Like, obviously, Zillion is the obvious problem at the end of this game, right?
Yeah.
If
he's got an extra life every 15 seconds.
Exactly, yeah. Once he gets that cooldown so low that he can just resurrect everybody over the course of a fight, like, it's just game over. I mean, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but, you know, maybe that's okay since we're running through. But in that last fight, like the last team fight, which was kind of drawn out inside our base, he revives Sion, Alistar, and Camille. 3 in one prolonged, protracted fight. 3 of them.
What a
and
nightmare.
Like Sion's already, it takes you an hour to kill him with everybody's
an hour
ults.
to kill him. And then he gets an extra life, and then you kill him again, and then he turns into a zombie, and then he knocks down your inhib because you can't stop him. Yeah, the whole thing was just, I mean, listen, like what you just said, he had to revive 3 people. It means we killed 3 people, right?
Yeah.
Or we would have if they weren't undying.
Yeah, if they didn't find a way to make Bjergsen still the most impossible dude to deal with for us. So it was just a little bit weird. I mean, and something I have in my notes that I didn't want to overlook too is that, you know, more contributing to the someday looked a little shaky or whatever. Did you see when he was late on his Zhonya's hourglass for the Ezreal ult that came in on bot side when they were fighting around him? And so he's like, he gets hit by an Ezreal ult, and I think he might have had the W on him too, so, you know, it accelerates damage. So he loses like more than half of his health bar with one. And then the Zhonya's comes right afterwards, and he's about dead. You know, it's like, it just something was not quite right.
And then he popped his stopwatch.
Yeah, he popped it after he got hit. I mean, it was a split second, but still, it was late.
That's what I do. You know,
I just don't even think to use it. I'm like, oh yeah, I should have used my hourglass when I'm dead for 50 seconds and I have some time.
Right, you're in the fountain. And you're looking through your inventory, like, what do I build next? Like, what is that thing? A stopwatch? Huh.
So in this game, you know, just to sum it up, I feel like our win condition was maybe a little narrow, that we had to win early, and we had to get ahead of them in order to, you know, to keep them from spiraling into this thing that we can't deal with because we don't have enough damage on our side. That didn't happen, and that's kind of like I felt about the TSM game in particular. It's no big deal. It kind of sucks to lose, and I would have liked to win, and I still think we're better than TSM, but, you know, on to the next one. I felt like we'll be fine. That was just kind of like a result of maybe not the most suitable draft for us, or maybe a draft that put us in a position where we had to really do some specific things that we weren't able to.
Right.
So I felt like
where you
I could brush it off, right?
Right. And you leave, and you're like, okay, maybe not Victor next time. Like, maybe that wasn't the one for us.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, the game 2 was not Barrel Monkeys either.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to characterize that one. Anything else we want to talk about? Anybody? I honestly, let me just say some quick stuff about Huhi. I thought he had a fine game on Urgot.
Yeah, that's the thing. We need to point that out, because Huhi's obviously going to be the probably the center of the discussion for game 2. He was fine on Urgot. He wasn't wonderful, but he was fine. He finished 3-2-2. He was pretty, you know, he did some good things. He was pretty important. He, for the most part, did what he was supposed to do. I wouldn't put him on like a someday playing Urgot level, but you know, he was fine.
Like he popped off a couple good ults. some important ones. There was one where they got a kill on us, and he got it in at the last second to make it a 1-to-1 trade so that they couldn't then just walk through Baron. He had even CS for quite a while there against Bjergsen, who's very good. I was kind of disappointed. Urgot, I feel like he's not a mobile champion. I don't feel like he had a lot of opportunities to kind of move around the map and do what everybody's talked about him doing. So it felt like he had a specific role to play, and I think he played it well. He was disruptive. He got into fights. He got out of fights. He mixed it up, and yeah, I thought he did his job well.
Yeah. One more thought. I just want to point this out, kind of out of spite, but Sven finished with like a great KDA or whatever, and it's totally padded. Like I am like not looking forward to seeing people's comments about how Sven popped off and on Bang and everything, because he went 7-1-3 on the game.
Yeah. While
getting just completely smashed in lanes. I hate that for us, because I've made a little bit of fun of Sven, all in good fun or whatever, but it made him look so much better than he actually did, and that is frustrating.
Yeah, the triple kill at the Infernal was the start of it. I mean, yeah, he just had enough damage. But yes, Bang was up 17 CS at 5 minutes.
Yep.
So
we'll ban Zilean next time. We will ban Zilean
next time we play
time.
DSM. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and just chat really quick so you guys know, we're paying attention to some of the questions and comments, and we'll try and visit them in the course of the conversation, so keep them coming. That's wonderful. Thank you. C9, let's talk about what happened today. I mean, do you wanna? I kind of don't even want to talk about it. I feel like we should, but man.
What
was it, 25 minutes?
Yeah, 25. Listening to the local police scanner, and they called in a fire in the Kmart parking lot.
Yeah.
Something about a dumpster.
Yeah. That's what this game felt like.
And it was just bad.
Interestingly enough, I felt like we alleviated a lot of what was wrong with our draft the second time around.
Yeah. Yes.
So
I agree.
Let's go ahead and run that really quick.
Yeah.
Someday on Urgot and on Nocturne, Huhi on Rise, Bang on Kaisa, Aframu on Alistar. Licorice on Victor, Sven Skaren on Camille, Niski took Aatrox, Sneaky on Ezreal, Zazel on Braum. Can Zazel play anybody else? I guess Zazel can play Zilean, because Zillian's got the beard, but Braum feels right for Zazel too.
Zazel is Braum.
Yeah, on our side, yeah, I felt like our team comp was like, okay, we've got the Engage now. We've got Bang on a hyper carry. I'm used to seeing Ryu play that Rise, and maybe that was one of the things that we're missing. Unlike, there's some comments in chat. Unreal Dreamer is talking about the champ selection for Anda not being ideal, and preferring to have him on more tank champions. I'm okay with Anda on Nocturne because we've seen it work well for him in the past. Not this game though. I mean, and in theory, right? It's good. You've got the ult that you can basically jump around to your side lanes pretty easy with that ult, and not to mention the nearsighted thing being very frustrating in the middle of a team fight.
There's basically no KDA less flattering in the game than your jungler on a Nocturne when everything is going wrong, because he just becomes a suicide missile. Right, he just blasts himself into the arms of death, and we saw that a good number of times.
Yeah,
but it's like, what else is he gonna do? That's the only thing he has. It's the only thing they gave him to work with was just this. It's a rocket chair, just headed straight toward the ground.
On the ban side, we banned out mid again, right?
Yeah.
Cassiopeia, Galio, Aurelia, Zoe, and Karthus to their Rakan, Lucian, Akali, LeBlanc, Lissandra. So they're still mid lane heavy, but there's room for some other things in there. But we're just focusing so hard on the mid lane. Are we seeing something where we perceive that maybe we need to protect Huhi a little bit, or is it just mid champs are strong and bannable right now?
I mean, I think it's probably both, right? Although after the game, our Oh no, this was yeah. After the game, there was a comment from Niski where he just said, "Yeah, Aatrox is broken, so probably should never get through bans," and I would agree. So if you are not picking first and you're not going to take Aatrox, I think you should ban him. So the fact that we didn't kind of leads me to believe that we are worried about mid.
Yeah. Nova points out in Twitch chat that Cassiopeia can be bot lane right now, which is definitely true. But we're more used to seeing her in that mid lane, and obviously she can go either place.
She's pretty busted too right now, from what I understand.
Yeah, she is as well. So it seems like maybe mid lane are where the champs are broken and a little bit OP. I mean, Aatrox mid top, even jungle, as they pointed out sometimes.
Galio's getting a nerf in 9-2. I think he popped off quite a few times. So to be fair, it may not be a clear indicator that everyone is concerned about these things. It might just be that those are not great champions to play against for anybody. But the Aatrox, man.
Yeah, I came away from the draft feeling like that maybe C9 seems a little bit more in tune with who the current power picks are than we were. Especially because like this is the second game in a row that we've been against an Ezreal that was pretty strong. you know,
I felt the same way.
Like the Ezreal builds that we're seeing, they're really, really shredding through us. And that's 2 games that we need to not forget that and maybe consider a ban on him or giving him to Bang, who we know is a magician on that champion.
Yeah.
So maybe we make that a higher priority.
He has some awesome Ezreal highlight reels. He's got like an Ezreal special move. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen this? From the fountain, he uses his True Shot barrage, and then it makes its way slowly across the map, and he TPs in to where he knows it's going to hit.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I have
it's
seen
sick. I've never seen anybody else do it, but there are multiple plays. So I would love to see him on Ezreal. Can we please? And True Shot barrage is even stronger now, so even better. But yeah, I mean, maybe we were going to take it this game, and they just snatched it right away with the pick right before us. So
no, because we first picked Urgot, and Ezreal was C9's third pick.
Yeah, he was picked right before we got to our ADC. It seemed like we wanted to pick our ad carry pick third.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have picked first and grabbed Ezreal.
Yeah. Well, whatever it is, it just didn't end up looking very good for us. And Niski in particular took great advantage of Huhi over the course of this game. I mean, again, coming out of the draft, I was like, okay, this alleviates some of the problems we had with our win condition, and just it looked like it fixed the team comp issues, but then it just seemed like they had more power picks than we did.
Yeah.
And champions
like
that have increased utility, like Camille right now, and a busted Aatrox.
A team who had a similar win condition, but just more power.
Yeah. So, I mean, is the highlight of this game the fact that we saw Chapanya on the cam? Is that the dog cam?
That is definitely the highlight of this game.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. Before we leave picks and bans, can I just again no say that there was no Aurelion Sol ban again, and it's just I just don't get it. I don't know why we're not. It's like everybody's daring us to pick it because it probably said in the heist, I think it was the mini episode for Huhi, he said, I banned Aurelion Sol every time we played CLG last year. He said fact. So that's 2. We're 0 for 2 with Aurelion Sol bans, and we haven't picked him once.
Yeah.
So it's weird that Probably would ban him every time as the opposing coach, and then receive 0 bans for him and pick him exactly 0% of the time.
Yeah.
Small sample set.
Yeah, it's easy to really criticize the draft, I think, and I think there's a temptation for everyone to do that, especially on Reddit. There's always some truth there, but at the same time, you're responsible for building an entire comp around the champions that you take, right? So if you're taking Aurelion Sol, how well does he fit in with what you're going to do for the rest of the game? What you have access to through, what they did not ban and what's currently powerful. Like, how much does that fit in? And maybe it is just wait until 9-2.
Yeah, maybe. And it's not so much that I mean, I'm not criticizing. It's just so curious to me. Like, it makes me think that they're like, maybe it is that the team just doesn't know how to play with Aurelion Sol as, in the mid lane, or like maybe these are just strats that we'll see as the season goes on. We just haven't, they're just not ready yet. Maybe that's it.
Well, and I just think that there are some champions that you can play him against and some that you can't, So
Yeah.
Could have been tricky. However, I would have liked to maybe not see him on Rise.
Seems fair to say.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, should we just talk about Huhi, because that's what this?
That's what's going to be a lot of it.
So Huhi was making some plays that were just very surprising. Like that, the teleport from Fountain to Nexus Turret will be a meme for probably the rest of time, which is a real bummer, because that is clearly just a mistake that he made. But
yeah, I heard that he plays with the mini map on the other side, on the left side instead of the right, and so they think he just clicked that, which would have been the top right corner of the mini map if it's on the left side, trying to get out, and
right,
feels bad.
So, but it's that kind of stuff that it's not an indication of how good he is as a player, or like even his skill on Rise. Those are just like it. I think it's probably just kind of it's mental lapses, that maybe it's the pressure, maybe it's the new squad, like who knows what it is.
Maybe it's just tilting, and like you've been playing solo queue for a while. What's going to happen if you're playing solo queue? You're laning against the Aatrox. He puts down, I forget what the thing is. I always think of it as gravity well, the chains, yeah. And he did that diagonal flash away and still got caught. Okay, if that happens in solo queue and you're killed like that, you basically know the game's over. Or that's how they approach it, right? In solo queue. It's well, that's done, on to the next one. So it would have been an incredibly tilting thing for him.
Yeah.
And then when you combine that factor with some of the other things that we saw, like the TP and everything, maybe he was tilted off the face of the planet.
I think he was. Yeah, I think he was truly in another dimension of tiltedness. And I think it started with that solo kill to Niski, or from Niski, because he loses his flash, he gets killed. I think it was first blood. I think that was, and he has to TP back in, so he's got no summoners. They didn't even punish it, is the crazy thing. I think that's the game where it's like, because the Nocturne ult up to some days, and I'm kind of getting into the area here. Yeah. It's like everything bad happened at like 7 minutes, and then I was just kind of holding my breath for like 3 minutes, expecting for this thing to just kind of get blown up, and it didn't. And they didn't punish him really that I don't think at all. But you got to wonder, and I honestly just Rise into Aatrox feels like a nightmare matchup to me, and I wonder if they're expecting it to go Aatrox to go top. But Rise is super mana hungry, and just I was watching that mid lane matchup, and the whole time it's like he's got enough mana to cast one spell, and Aatrox is just swinging his sword around, just going crazy in the lane, like jumping around, having fun, and it's like, man, that is a bad matchup to play. That feels bad.
Yeah. And pointed out in Twitch chat by Etor3, the theory that he had Urgot runes programmed for Rise, that he didn't change it. Maybe he thought he was playing Urgot again, or maybe it was just left over from last game. Who knows?
So he probably was tilted when
he
loaded in.
Yeah. So if that is the case, you start off your game feeling a little bit tilted, and then it just snowballs from there. It's like a snowball tilt.
It's like a new tilt. It's unstoppable, man. So, and then there's that, I wrote after the misclick teleport. I mean, that would have been a huge difference. It's not like he did that trying to get back to lane. It's like, okay, he's got to walk back to lane.
We could have turned an entire fight on that, theoretically.
It turned into a 2-for-1 trade, and that could have been a 1-for-0, with us having their mid lanes wasting much of time walking up, having to walk back, maybe even getting another pick. So I have to imagine that he was super tilted after that.
Yeah.
And then at the Infernal, where I think that was the one where Anda steals, like we salvage it.
Yeah, he got
it's going pretty well.
and killed Senskaren.
Yeah, and then Huhi just he just walks.
He just pushed way too far in.
Yeah, he's just over aggressive. Just walks straight into an Ez combo and pops like a balloon.
Yeah. Really quick, in YouTube chat, Jonathan is pointing out that Aftershock Rise is a thing. Yes, and that was called out by the casters too, but it just didn't seem like that's the choice for that lane, right?
And maybe it is because you're going to get beat up by an Aatrox because he's going to be spamming. Yeah. But there's a possibility that that wasn't what he was aiming for, and so
we're just theorizing here.
I load into games with the wrong runes, and I'm like, well, it was a good game.
GG. But it was weird because it felt, when I saw him get killed down bot, like we were just talking about after that Steel and Infernal, it seemed so familiar to me. Like I was like, this is something I do. Where you overextend and maybe it's like you lagged out a little bit too. It just was bad.
Yeah.
Like that's what that looked like. And
like your dog barks and you're like, what? And you look back and you're dead. Oh,
yeah, that's what happened. So it was that was a rough little exchange because it turned an absolute positive from us into that ended up being a trade.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think in general, just the whole game, that was my feeling, is none of this is clean. Like we got an Infernal Steal and then we lose Huhi and then Afro gets picked off when he's going back to lane 2. So it's just one of those where it's like in games past, we didn't give stuff to people. And last season, like we would steal the Infernal and then we would tighten our grip and we would keep pushing lane and we'd have that extra AP AD bonus and it would just get that much harder to get anything out of us. But in here, it's like, and here's a couple kills. So
yeah, there you go. Well, the thing around Infernal was kind of interesting because it looks like there were multiple shot calls that happened. That's how it felt to me. And I think I'm assuming that this is going to be the case for the team this year. This is an assumption, but probably a safe one, that Aphromoo is the shot caller, right?
Yeah.
And you see him set up like this amazing flank with Alistar where he almost catches 4 on the knockup. He gets 3.
It's the second Infernal.
And there's no follow-up. There was nothing there.
He's just alone.
I was watching Bang and it was like, well, Bang, like it's just like I said earlier, Bang, I think thought, well, if I jump in now, I can't be the only one. I'm going down right away. And so there was hesitation all around. And again, as much as this pains me to say, because we were hyping up and a whole lot, he just looked lost during most of these exchanges and looked very indecisive and went too late, and I think it was during that fight that he jumped in, he ulted into the back and tried to take out Victor and Victor just popped a shield and I think and then he casts his ult and it's just like erases everybody. I mean, think about this, because I remember that play too, and I was like, oh this is gonna be sweet, this is gonna be good, this is vintage Thieves, like we got something coming. Yeah, I was ready to put it in like top 15 plays for 2019 already. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna say my list is still pretty short on that one, so it's easy to keep track at this point. But think about this, right? So Afro gets the dream engage. He jumps in behind, and you could see when he shows up, Cloud9 is kind of like because they all turn around and there's like an invisible fear that Afro casts. It's like he channels it and they all just kind of like start. But then he shows up, he pops them up, and they're like, wait a minute, nobody's here.
Nobody's coming. Yeah.
there's nobody here. It's Zeyzal's like, this is fine. And then but imagine this. So Afro does that. Anda goes in, destroys. Let's just say he kills Bjergsen. Did I get the name wrong? Bjergsen is messing me up.
Bjergsen,
so I'm second guessing myself, but it's Bjergsen. But yeah, he gets a squishy, and then Someday steps in, gets a fear beyond death. They're all actually feared this time, walking slowly away from everybody, and then Bang cleans up. That's how that fight could have gone. Like we had the tools, we had the engage, we had all the different CC we needed. It just, instead what happened is Afro shows up, pops everybody up, hits his ult, and then slowly melts. And that's how the game felt.
Yeah, it was not great. It was not great. Now, I'm looking for it. I think it was the Journeys one in YouTube chat mentions that he described us as being inactive during TSM, which I think is true. It was not assertive. We weren't playing assertive. We weren't playing aggressive.
Yeah.
Cloud9 was, we played that way still, and then fell even more out of sync from each other. So it was not only were we not looking for the play, but we also were not on the same page when we were watching what was unfolding happen.
Yeah.
And the one time I really thought, okay, they are going in to make a play was when we get the Infernal Steel, because Aframu charges in there. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows he's going to take out Svenskeren. Like, that's what the play was, and it worked until the very end, the little Huhi mistake or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think that we went from not being assertive but kind of reactive to not being assertive, and everyone's kind of out there for themselves.
Yeah. Well, and you can imagine how Huhi feels after he makes his third, like, big gaffe. I mean, imagine how the rest of the team feels too, right?
Yeah.
Like, that has an effect on everybody on the team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you've played solo queue, you know how that feels when there's somebody on your team. It's like, why would you, what are you doing? So I'm sure everybody was kind of a little tilted on that.
So this begs a question. Is the strategy we're going to see from other teams going to be, let's try and exploit Huhi and
Anda? Yeah, I think so. I think we can expect to see a whole lot of mid bans from the other team next week, the other two teams. Maybe it's time to unleash the Aurelian Soul.
Well, once we're on 9-2 for sure.
Yeah, on 9-2. So maybe that helps. I mean, here's kind of the crazy thing though. We're getting free picks. It's, probably talked about. One of the things he brings, he makes pick and ban easier for us. And in that sense, it's like, yeah, I mean, kind of, because you get your pick of the bunch from basically any other position on the map. And so we're getting the picks we want for every position, I would say, unless we get out picked, like if somebody picks it first. But we've got a big champion pool available to us in every position except mid. So that's concerning to me. Like, I think we got to figure out how to make or take advantage of that. It's kind of like, how do you counter people targeting one player in your team? How do you get them a safe enough pick and then really punish them for letting some days whoever through, like Aatrox? Maybe that's what I'm getting at is, if that happens, we have to be ready to punish that.
Right. We have to have a plan in place. So
yeah, got to have a plan.
So the game ended. They got an uncontested Baron at 22 minutes, and by 25, 26 minutes, it was over.
Yeah, we were down 7K gold at 20 minutes.
Yeah, it just was quick and nasty. Sneaky was doing a lot of damage. It was very uncomfortable to watch. Yeah. So now that the games are behind us, what do you feel that we've learned about our guys, our teams, our comps? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about, like, what do we expect in the early going from this team? And one of the things we had talked about was we expect, every time you get a new roster together, it's like you gotta temper your expectations. Maybe it's a slow start. Maybe there's language barriers. Maybe, who knows who's calling shots, that kind of stuff. But we had talked about it, and we were like, well, you got Huhi, and he knows that Afro calls the shots, and he knows that he's, like, they know each other. So, and then the other thing that is really, I think, the thing that I'm the most surprised by is Sunday's performances. I didn't expect to have any question marks on Sunday, and I feel like I do have some question marks. Like, even the Urgot game, he got there's a really rough trade he tried to pull on Licorice. Licorice is very good. Yeah. Licorice is very good, but Someday has been better. Last season, Someday was better than Licorice. So he flashed in, he tried to do all this stuff, and he ended up just getting, like, he had to run back up lane with his tail between his legs, basically.
Was that the one where he got saved by the Rise ult? The realm ult pulled him out. Was that a different one?
That was a separate one.
Yeah.
It was solo. He's trying to go all in. He flashes in, Licorice flashes back, and then the Victor flashes back, and then the Victor just lights him up on the way out. Yeah. So, those are the kind of plays that I'm not used to seeing. So I think there's a couple things going on that we've got to work on.
Yeah. Maybe we need to be more reactive and more, I'm sorry, reactive is the wrong word. Maybe we need to plan for that, exploit the mid and jungle strategy that may come out from people and find out how do we get Someday and Bang online quicker. I thought Someday's first game was bad and his second game was just I didn't think it was terrible, but he should have died one more time for sure. He finished 1-1-0 and he should have been 1-2-0.
Talk to me about why. So I think I have a different take on Anda's weekend than you do. So tell me about why you feel like he is coming out as looking like a weak link on the team.
I'm not so sure that he really is a weak link on the team. I mean, well, if you compare him to Someday and Bang, then yeah, it's hard to kind of meet that standard. But I think people perceive him that way, and that as a result, they could be attacking him. You and I have both talked about how good we think he is. Maybe the champ selections for him weren't quite as good as they could have been. He was like power clearing through with Olaf through his camps and everything. But he just looked hesitant a little bit, and he misplayed a few things, in my opinion, especially during the team fights. Yeah. So I think maybe there's just some rust there on him. So I don't think it's so much that he's this big liability that everybody's going to go for, but just that he needs to be on maybe a more comfortable champion, and he needs to be in a position where he can be on the same page with everybody.
Yeah. I think I more or less agree. I think the Olaf game, I think he did exactly what he needed to do and what he was supposed to do. You know, in my silver opinion, I think Olaf is a champion where if your team, like, he has so few tools to get into a fight when your team is not able to kind of open a door for him.
Sure.
So, like, the only thing he can do as Olaf is pop Ragnarok and run in to die faster. You know, like, it's not a good option at that point. You just kind of dance around at the edge of skill shot range.
Yeah.
So so I'm encouraged by that game, because it's like Anda he is still counter jungling. He's still power clearing. He was still up.
He's still stolen Infernal.
He's still stolen Infernal. He still stole some buffs. But then I do agree. Like, I think his Nocturne game could have been much better, and I think it needed to have been. Like, that first ult, it just amounted to nothing. That was almost like maybe that tilted him a little bit, because as Nocturne, that's your bread and butter, is getting that gold from those kills. So
yeah. Bruno M points out in YouTube chat that there are the top teams in the league tend to try and play through the mid, so that's going to be, maybe a matchup thing for us that we need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. I think in the week in between our next games, we're going to be working on like the team fighting and communication and all that. Like, it's got to be that. A lot of people are pointing to the drafts. I think the drafts were maybe not ideal, but it's really easy to sit there and blame a draft for what happens when it goes wrong.
Yeah.
And while I do think there are some things that maybe we could do better in the draft or whatever, it's like, I'm not going to sit here and second guess Prawley.
Yeah.
There was a plan. I'm sure he's not getting up. He didn't roll out of bed and walk down to the studio and be like, oh, okay, what do you guys think we should draft? There was a plan there, and it just didn't work. And a lot of things probably are not going to work at the beginning of this for us.
Yeah.
It's to be expected. We are a new team. We brought in new players. We are playing in a new meta. I mean, it's not totally different from the world's meta, but it's a little different, and it will continue to evolve, and we just have to look for what's going to be stable, what's going to work for us, and just get guys used to talking to each other and playing with each other.
Yeah. And I do think that our Cloud9 game is a very different game. I mean, we got smacked. I think we get smacked. It's not a smack, I think, if some of those misplays from Huhi don't happen. And I'm not putting it all on Huhi. I just think that contributed a lot to the nature of how the game went.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, it's not a draft thing. It's just a mental thing. And I think the worst thing you can do if you're Huhi right now is dwell on this game and think about it like after tonight. Like, you got to wake up tomorrow and just say, It's a new season, like new day. Because you're not. He's not going to do that every game from now on. And if he does, he's going to have a short season. Like if he for whatever reason like gets the yips, like that he needs to take some time away. We're not even close to that point. My point in saying that is only that like you don't expect that to happen every week, and it won't.
Yeah, that's the thing. It won't. He will be different. He will be better.
Yeah.
1 week is 1 week, especially the first week. You cannot judge things too negatively in the first week. There are some teams that are going to start hot and then fall off. There are some teams that are going to start bad and come back. There are going to be some teams that start bad and stay bad. We're not going to be one of them. Huhi is not going to be one of those players either. So yeah, it'll be addressed. It'll be worked on. Maybe our draft plans will be a little more flexible and not such a narrow win condition. Maybe Prawley's playing with the new toys he's got and just seeing how they work. But the overarching point is we need to put that week behind us and not just sit there and be like, oh, he's the worst. We got to get rid of him. Probably he's the worst. Oh, we got to get rid of him. It's not the time to do that. Like, get halfway through the season and then let's talk about what we are doing and if we've changed and if we've gotten better and if we're playing up to our potential.
And we're a long ways from halfway through the season or the split. I wouldn't even throw out the strategies we used today. Like, I think I would love to see us play smash lanes again, because I think if we get smarter on how we play phase 2 of that strat, I think that's a fine strat for us. And I think more weeks than not, you're gonna have a bot lane that can get really nasty and scary in that scenario. And more weeks than not, you're gonna have somebody playing somebody who he's actually familiar and comfortable with. So it feels like there are a lot of factors that didn't play out optimally for us. And I think the worst thing you can do in that kind of an environment is throw something in the trash and just say, well, I guess we can't play, lane focused games. It's only team fighting for us, because then we become one dimensional. So it's a tough way to start the season, no doubt. But here's the other thing we know. Afro is tilt proof, and he's got a good relationship with Jay. He is going to talk to him. He'll bring him back together. And they're going to start working hard. They're going to work hard. Like, these guys are going to put in the effort that they need to iron stuff out.
Yeah. And if there's anything we know about, there goes the iron. Spam the iron in Twitch chat. If there's anything we know about Prawley, right, it's that he is playing the long game. Yeah. Okay. He doesn't do anything with a short field of vision. He is looking at the long haul. And if he is just learning or scouting or experimenting, that kind of thing will be reined in as we progress into the season. Now, speaking of progressing into the season, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is we play Golden Guardians next week. The bad news is we play Team Liquid next week. How are you feeling about that?
Let me ask you a question first. Did Golden Guardians win their second game?
I believe they lost. No, wait, that was yesterday that they lost, right, to FlyQuest?
Yeah, they lost to FlyQuest, who's 2-0, by the way, FlyQuest. What is happening?
Yeah. Let's see.
Cobelter.
Was it Echo Fox? Who did they play? I don't even have this in front of me. But I thought I saw that they had lost. Either way, Golden Guardians is not us. Okay? Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not a squad that you can sleep on, I will say. They're going to be, like, these are both hard games next week. So I'd call it, like, middling news and tough news.
No, I think it's good news, man. I think that's going to be a game where we can bounce back and take it. I wish that we were playing Golden Guardians first.
Yeah, that's right. It's Saturday TL.
Right. Saturday's Team Liquid, and that's going to be kind of rough. I think we'll know a little bit more about ourselves by the end of that game. So
yeah, it's one of those where it's like, look, you got to work on some strats and figure some things out. And by the way, you're going to have the toughest test of your season, as the first return trip.
Yeah.
So good luck.
Well, why not do all the hard teams at the top of the split, like figure it out, see where you stand, see what they're going to do, and then have some time to build up the confidence after that.
Yeah.
And yeah, we confirmed they lost to Echo Fox. So.
Okay. So yeah, they're 0-2.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And the trick when you play the best, best three teams in the league, the first three games, is you just gotta have a thick skin. Because the thing that is a disaster is if we play TL, we have a tough match, win or lose, and then we play Golden Guardians and we're not focused, right? And we give up a game that we have absolutely no ability to do if we want to have the kind of season we think we should.
Yeah. Bruno M again in YouTube chat points out something interesting. Golden Guardians has great players, but they don't look like a team yet. And yeah, that's yes, that's pretty good assessment. I mean, everybody kind of thinks that Golden Guardians is, not going to be the 10th place team this year, that they've clearly got some talent. They overhauled the roster, and it's a little bit like a worse version of us, right? Where great players that just aren't playing up to par at the moment. But
I did watch their first game, and I would just say, this is not the Golden Guardians podcast, but since we're playing them next week, I would say they're great players. Like, I wasn't blown away.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like these incredible feats of individual play that just didn't mesh together. Everybody looked kind of shaky. So I think it'll, a positive game to have in week 2 for us.
Yeah. Which might be needed after this Team Liquid game. Do you predict that we're going down to Team Liquid and finishing 1-1?
Yes, I do predict we'll lose to TL, but I think we'll beat Golden.
I think the only thing that I'm going to pay ultra close attention to is going to be lane phase against double lift. So Bang and double lift, I've been looking forward to that a whole lot. At this point, it's looking like we're not playing like the team that we are going to be soon. So I'm going to focus on that lane phase, see how they do against each other, and then I'll let the fighting come next. And if Bang surprises us by just completely destroying double lift in the fights too, then that's all the better. But adjust your expectations accordingly.
I mean, I think the best case scenario for us is that Bang outlanes double lift. That has never happened for 100 Thieves Team Liquid match. We've never beat double lift in lane, let alone beat the guy in the game. So that would be a huge W for me in my mind, is if we can walk away from lane phase against TL.
We have beat him in a game.
Well, yeah, but but I think that was
not
the game
not at his fault. Yes,
that was Ryu hide in bush, Malzahar, and that was basically the one time we've gotten the better of double lift, and then from there we were able to kind of steamroll a little bit.
Yeah,
but other than that, it's been pretty slim pickings.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting week next week, and then the week after that for week 3, 100 Talk goes to Los Angeles. We will be at the LCS studio on location. I don't know. We haven't figured out a broadcast plan yet. But
it'll be my iPhone.
Yeah, we will be there at the game, so we'll get to take this in person, see how it goes. And I am very much looking forward to that because we've got CLG and CG during that week. So
Clutch is looking good, though.
Clutch does look good, but I'm telling you, we're going to take them. We haven't lost to them yet. We're 5-0 against Clutch. So
I believe we will continue to beat them, but I'm glad that they're playing well because now the rivalry can be a proper rivalry.
Well, once they start beating us, we'll see. Okay,
they'll never start beating us.
I think due to time constraints, we're not going to really hit too hard on the heist and the content that we get this week, though that will be part of the typical plan for us. For anyone who's new to the show, we will try and talk about the heist and the things that we learn from the behind-the-scenes stuff. Here's what I'll just say. I just want to make one point about that. The team looks a lot more fun, personally, this year. They look like they enjoy each other. I've been watching the Twitch streams. They look like they're having fun. Hopefully, everything that happened this weekend doesn't weigh them down too much, but I got to agree with you on Aframu being able to talk to Huhi, get him back into the game, and not letting the weight of what happened bear down too heavily on him. I think the guys are going to be able to shake this off because specifically of how they've been interacting together during the run up to the season, and it's been really fun to see. Just a more lively team.
Yeah, they're gonna need that liveliness, resilience, all that stuff. Jesse, I think it's Jesse Jinx. Is it?
Oh yeah, on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, she watched the pod sometimes. I think, I don't know. I mean, she doesn't. I know she follows us. I don't know what her viewing habits are, but she posted on Twitter. She was at the games this weekend, and she noted that Huhi was not at the fan meet and greet. So
yeah, the
again,
post-game meet and greet. So
like we just need to make sure that, and that's totally fine. Take some time, you know, like understandable if after a game like that you don't want to go schmooze with fans.
And that's assuming he was gone for the whole thing and not just for the time she was there.
Maybe
so
he had to go to the bathroom.
Possible,
we don't know.
It's possible it's a bathroom break, but
yeah.
you know, we have to be conscious of that. But if there's a dude to do it, it's Aframu, right? It's Aframu talking to his friend and being like, "Man, we got this," like Aframu does. So I'm not too worried about that. So with that being said, we've got one more thing for everyone. And we teased this a little bit a long time ago on our Twitter and maybe on our stream a couple times. But we're feeling generous, everybody. And it's the start of a new season. It's giveaway time.
Yeah.
So, 100 Talk will be giving away this wonderful blue royalty t-shirt. Not this one specifically. But we will be that one is mine and it's never leaving. We're giving away a long sleeve blue royalty tee from 100 Thieves, and we would love to give it to you. So I'm going to tell you 3 ways that you can enter to win this tee. You know how hard it is to get your hands on the 100 Thieves apparel, so go ahead and do this because it helps us and it could help you. So 3 ways to win on our 3 platforms. So Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. We're going to make a post either tonight or tomorrow about the giveaway. Find that post, retweet it with your size as the comment, okay? So go to Twitter, find the post that we're going to make tomorrow or the next day, retweet it, comment your size. Number 2, Twitch. Follow us on Twitch. This video will be in our library or whatever, so find the video, comment on this video with your size. You can do it now if you want in the chat. We'll take in live comments as well. So live or after the fact, go find this episode, comment on it with your size, and make sure you're following us on Twitch. And then the 3rd way, YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube and comment on this video with your size. So it's pretty simple. Give us your size and the action you take and make sure you're following us on the platform, okay? That's all you need to do. We'll randomly pick someone from there to get the royalty tee from the winter collection from 100 Thieves, which you either missed in the drop or you are not willing to pay insane eBay prices for it.
Yeah.
So get it for free from us. And in advance, we thank everybody for doing that. We like doing the giveaways. I think I tweeted out, we've made a personal goal that we're going to do more giveaways this year. I think I said triple the amount of giveaways.
Whoa.
So there will be chances to win. And this is the first one for 2019. So take care of it. And tell everybody to come and watch 100 Talk.
Yeah.
Tell everybody, come chat with us. And we look forward to seeing everybody back when we are celebrating the upset win against Team Liquid and the crush, the baking pin stomp of the Golden Guardians next week.
Oh, if you want to have your very own iron emote to use in Twitch, make sure you subscribe to the Twitch.
I am. I'll spam the iron right now so you can see this beautiful thing. And Jordan is holding the Genuine article.
Yeah,
become a Twitch subscriber.
Eventually, this will hit eBay at some point in the future, like 5-6 years out. And it's
wow, that's a prediction right there.
It's a hot take. I'll take that one. But for now, the digital will have to do, and you can get that if you subscribe.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So please continue to support us. We're so grateful because we've grown a lot in the last little bit, and it's so fun to have more people involved now, more people in chat, more people watching, more people talking to us on Twitter.
Glad you guys are chatting to each other in the chat. That's fun.
Yeah, we love it.
It's all good to talk about the team.
And bring yo friends, and we gonna do this thing and be with us as we win the title this split, Spring 2019 champions, 100 Thieves. Let's get out of here. We'll see everybody next week. Hopefully same time.
Take care.
Should be the regular plan. Enjoy your week, and